Hey, Johnny.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure who all was going to jump on, and I'm not feeling well. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Okay, cool. So I didn't really have anything set up, but since we're on, we might as well talk a little bit about Medicare for All and get folks into that campaign. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so how was the tabling? How did that go?
The last one that we did was awesome. I mean, we got 50 people signed the sheet, the sign-up sheet for Medicare for All. So normally we have 25 people. This time 50. I'd say that's pretty awesome.
Oh, cool. Well, and actually, now that I think about it, I forgot y'all had the break clinic this weekend. How did that go?
Oh, that was awesome too. I think it was something like 7 cars that we were able to help change the brake lights.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and we didn't have any problems. Like nothing went wrong as far as changing lights, and I think there was only one car that we weren't able to change. It's just because it has some kind of modern like LED light thing that we just don't have bulbs for. Just some fancy thing you'd have to get done at like a dealership or something, maybe.
Oh, that makes sense. The like specialty lights.
Yeah, some specialty like that, and it was cool because there was actually more than enough folks there volunteering from DSA. So I'd say there's probably like 10 of us. So while maybe 3 or 4 folks were in the back of the car changing the lights, a lot of the folks I was able to go up to the driver or passenger or maybe another person like Matt Mulholland would come up with me, and we would just start talking to people, and we had a bunch of literature like the socialist feminism, Medicare for All, and just handing those little zines and pamphlets out and just talking to folks about what DSA is about, and talking to folks about Medicare, seeing what they knew. It's pretty cool.
No, that's great, because that's a tool that we used when I was organizing with Acorn, where you offer community services, you offer some sort of benefit, but it does give you a chance to have an organizing conversation and let folks know, a little bit more about sort of taking power back, instead of it just being about, looking for some kind of service and stuff. Well, that's helpful, but really just teaming up together, right?
Yeah, it was cool. It definitely became like a nice, more than mutual aid, but like community event.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's totally great. So then, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to make it up there, but we ended up going to volunteering at the Bernie Sanders rally in LA.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think the campaign is estimating there were about 15,000 people there, and so yeah, it was very cool.
That is encouraging.
Oh no, totally. And then, so part of what our work to do was kind of following the same model, right? Where you talk to people, you collect, names and numbers and stuff, so that way you can follow up with folks. You can get them connected. And so that was the biggest team, I think, was was about 100 volunteers out there gathering and checking everybody in. And the campaign said that an estimated at the other rallies, about 30% of the people who showed up weren't connected to the campaign before. So
Wow.
we're having a whole new insurgency of Bernie supporters connecting that weren't even there in 2016. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, and I have to think that the more that we grow DSA, I think, and then now with the DSA endorsement, I think this is going to be, a really exciting a time for pushing these issues forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. What do you think like DSA's involvement should be? How involved do you think we should be in the Sanders campaign?
Well, I mean, I think it goes to a couple of different avenues, right? For the folks willing to kind of get into the Democratic Party stuff, since that's the nomination that Bernie's seeking right now. So there's one avenue of infiltrating local Democratic clubs and just sort of being an advocate for the policy, and championing Bernie, and like not letting anyone make us feel like marginalize those voices, or make anybody feel like all the Bernie Sanders supporters are just a bunch of something demons or whatever with the horns on our heads. You just show like regular people, and kind of soften that soften that conversation, and sort of make sure that the issues are always being talked about. In this, again, this is all about just sort of pushing the party left, and then showing the power of people organizing and working toward getting neighbors engaged and that sort of thing. The other part is the with DSA is just the same thing that we're learning with some of the other issue campaigns like Medicare for All, is learning to canvass and talking to folks, and then educating folks where they're at, of how to get support for Bernie in the primary, and what that looks like, and then how do we then put that into securing the primary, especially here in California as one of the early states. There was a lot of like learning curve in 2016 because so many new folks who had never voted before, or who were like declined as states. There was a big learning curve that probably did cost us a lot of votes, in that people didn't know how they were supposed to be registered, what they were supposed to do at the polling location, or if they were a vote by mail voter, what they were supposed to do to request a Democratic ballot. And so, it's having those conversations in the context of DSA, especially the folks who would seek us out, or the ones who would, gravitate towards our message. Then it would really be about sharing. Well, we're backing Bernie at a national level. The membership voted to endorse him by whatever percentage it was, and just kind of affirm. Especially to the real leftists, affirm that he is the standard bearer right now, and sort of our best chance to get these policies happening. And I mean, there's just so much work to do.
Yeah.
And so I think we just keep doing what we're doing, like what you guys are doing with the Medicare for All, and then you sort of add this other conversation if folks are open to it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Like, I'll tell you, for one thing, when I was talking to folks while we were changing the brake lights, they didn't even know there was something other than Democrat or Republican.
Right.
They're like, I didn't know you could be something other than that. That socialist or democratic socialist was like a whole other thing. And
Right.
it was pretty exciting to tell them that and be like, well, you've heard of Bernie, right?
Right.
Those are the things that we stand for.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean people talk about not getting involved, or like, oh, these, young people, they don't vote, and oh, this, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, and even some people themselves admit that, they don't vote, and, they just, they're not into politics, so they just stay out of it. But really, at the end of the day, what I firmly believe it is that most folks know that they don't know. And so rather than make a mistake or get into something that they don't understand, or have to admit that they don't understand, they just sort of check out.
Yeah.
And we've got to show, we've got to like make it easy for folks to jump in when they never have before. We've got to make it easy and like shameless to like not be embarrassed by what they might feel are stupid questions or something that they should know or whatever. We just gotta like find people where they are and let them jump in,
Yeah, totally. Like, so you think it's definitely not a waste of time to really push people to register to vote?
I think it's one avenue,
Yeah.
right? I think it's one avenue, and I think that's our best chance, alongside another like boots on the ground sort of movement to achieve this, what we want, non-violently.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the goal, is that we have transformation without, bloodshed.
Yeah.
And so, so even in our darkest hour, we've had the structure has worked, of a transition, one party to another, one presidency to another, one Congress to another. We haven't had revolts of any kind anywhere, right? Like at the local level to the federal level. So that is one avenue that can be sweeping if we engage the nearly 70% of people who aren't voting.
Yeah, that number just boggles the mind.
It's totally right, because it's what's the turnout for us here in San Bernardino County. I want to say that it's less than 59% of people who are eligible are registered, and of the people who are registered, only about 20 to 27% actually turn out in like say a mid-year election or a midterm election or a primary.
Wow.
So it's, this is how these folks stay in charge, and how the policy doesn't happen. And I think that I think electoral politics is one avenue that happens when elections happen, and then you still keep community organizing, you still keep pushing policy, through the rest of the time. It's not like we can elect a hero and just go home. I think that's what some folks think electoral politics are. It's not that. That's never going to work. We can't elect a hero and then leave them to do their job. There needs to be the public push to make folks do the right thing, to make these electeds answer to more than just their own personal ideology or their own funders.
Yeah. No, I agree. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So I know sometimes I could get criticized for even like working with the Democratic Party, or with or just focused on electoral politics, but for me, I think it's all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's sort of my frame of mind thinking about this stuff is, you can, at the very least, even if you think that it's useless and there's a whole bunch of other strategies that you can take, do that, but at least fucking vote. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the harm, right?
Yeah. I agree.
So, what kind of made you think of that question as far as like if it's effective or if it's not a complete waste of time?
Well, I know that voting isn't a complete waste of time, but back in the 2016 campaign, I was doing more stuff, just kind of playing with my band than out organizing. But we tried to like turn all of our concerts into like sort of recruitments to talk about Bernie, and we always had someone with us, like near our merch table, registering people to vote and getting
Nice.
information and stuff, and then having them explain Bernie to folks who are interested. And I would say there's usually like 3 or 4 people at each concert, that would register to vote that weren't registered already. And then like the big concerts we did, like the Burn Fest, there were probably 25 people or so that we got registered to vote. So that's why I wonder, like the actual, like you were saying, so many people not knowing before the primaries back in 2016 what a primary even was, first of all.
Right.
Let alone, I have to be registered Democrat to vote in the Democratic primary, to vote
right.
and that whole thing. But
yeah.
I didn't even know really what like any of that was before 2016. So
right. And that's the thing is the Democratic Party, like normally they sort of operate like really like they don't want to do that work. They don't want to have those conversations, compassionate conversations about like, no, I totally understand. You've been busy, you've been raising a family, or you've been going to school, or you've been working. And so of course you don't have time to like learn civics when it's not flipping taught in school anymore.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, they want to just talk to the base of folks that they already know, and then pretend like the rest of the world doesn't exist and it's their damn fault because they don't vote and they don't get involved.
Yeah.
It's such an arrogant mindset. It's so arrogant. And then this is how some of these folks then dismiss a campaign like Bernie Sanders' campaign, because it's like, these kids don't really know. I mean, I've been doing this for years. They don't know. That's just, it's hideous, because then, that makes them so welcoming and makes folks want to get involved. But doing it at a concert and just being chill about the conversation and going, oh no, totally, here, let me help you, get registered and let me explain this if you don't get it or whatever. And, do you have any questions? That's huge.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. And that's how and then you, because it's so casual, because it's so just part of, the things you do, it shows folks that it's not as complicated and scary as they think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. That's so exciting. So where did you have the Burn Fest? I know I heard about it, but I didn't go.
We did 2 of them. One in December of 2015, and we did a second one in, I want to say it was April or May, like just before the primary of 2016, and they're both at Back to the Grind.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, and it was really successful. Like the first one we did was pretty low key. Like I didn't have much to do with the booking of the performers, except for my band playing everyone else was pretty much like solo kind of acoustic acts that had done like folk music stuff, just playing at the like open mics at Back to the Grind. And then it was like us and one other like band that's pretty big that would play there all the time. But that one alone, there was like 200 something people that showed up.
Nice.
And, yeah, and that was just down like in the basement Back to the Grind. When we did the second one, we had 2 stages going, alternating, basement and then the ground floor, back and forth. We had 14 bands play. It was nuts. Yeah, we had 4 or 5 people come and like guest speak. And then Dewan was there live screen printing the first time around, except the first time that we did the Burn Fest, his screen printing stuff was so powerful that the power kept going out and Back to the Grind.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. It was super punk rock to have like a blackout and everyone be like, turn off your amps.
Right.
And it was just one of those cool things where everyone would cheer, you know, but then the second time around, they wouldn't let us live print. So he just brought a bunch, and we had like a Bernie photo booth where you could put on like Bernie glasses and silly things, and we posted up on Facebook and Instagram.
Nice.
Everything came together. It was my first time like really organizing anything like that. So it was kind of a crash course in organizing for me, and I'd never really been involved in anything like, say, DSA, where I'd know like, you know, someone taking the minutes and progressive stack and all that kind of stuff. Like, so I wish I would have known like all those kind of tools going into it. But I mean, it did turn out great. The second time we'd raised like $700 something, and we tried to like direct people to sign on to a computer and make electronic donations to Bernie. But people were like, oh, I don't want to do that. And they just gave us cash.
Nice.
So I ended up making like a one-time giant donation to Bernie. And then like every week after that, I'd get those Bernie like FEC deadline emails. Could you contribute another $600? I'm like, no, I don't have that much money.
That's awesome.
It was awesome, man. But
that's totally great.
But yeah, just things like that. Like, it doesn't even need to be that big. But
right.
On Wednesday, when Bernie spoke at UCLA, I went out with Matt Milholland from DSA, and he offered to drive, and we carpooled out there together, and it was awesome. Like, Bernie only spoke for like 5 minutes maybe, but
oh wow.
Of course, just like the energy of the strike and all that stuff going on is just so cool.
Right.
Like the solidarity and stuff.
Right.
But we got stuck in traffic, and it took us like 4 hours to get home.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
It was like a total nightmare, but it was cool because Matt and I got to know each other better, and we just got to spend the whole time talking about cool stuff that, you know, we'd like to do for DSA. And one of the things that we were talking about is like doing more like socials, just getting together, whether it's the movie nights or maybe doing like some kind of open mic kind of thing or something, just to like bring people together and to invite people that aren't already aware, so that, like you were saying, so you could just have those kind of face-to-face like chill talks and tell people about socialism and stuff.
Right.
But I don't like, we'd have to talk about it obviously more as a group or in a meeting or something, but
right.
That movie night was awesome.
Oh, totally.
Sorry to bother you. I mean,
yeah, no, totally. You're totally right. And actually, I was looking at, there's an organization online that like has a bunch of like documentaries or and also just like some independent films and stuff, and you can become like a movie captain and host one of those movies, and they make the arrangements with like a local theater, and if you sell like however many tickets you need to sell, and usually it's about 30 or 40 depending on the size of the theater, then they'll handle the screening part at a real theater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool, and the tickets are like $10 or $12 or something, pretty affordable. So and then you can like you can you pick from the stock of movies that they have. But I was looking today, and there's a bunch of some pretty good like current messaging stuff that could work for like again, a political conversation, a socialist conversation.
Yeah.
And then and then I was like, oh man, I should have looked sooner, because they had some good they had a like a biography on Muhammad Ali, and also on Harry Belafonte during the civil rights movement and stuff. So then that would have been really great for like Black History Month, and like I didn't even think about it. And so the thing is then you can it kind of gets advertised, and anybody who's like joined their list before, they'll get notices if they're in the area to like sign up or join them in the movie. And so that could be like a whole new crowd of folks that you hadn't connected with yet.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and we did a couple of those for, we did a bullying. We showcased the bully movie, and then we also did Girl Rising, which we did for Women's Day one year, and then this year for Women's Day, we did, or before Women's Day, we did the screening of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's biographical movie.
Oh, cool.
So, and that one was cool, because then we had a pretty good full house of folks there. And so it was just fun to like, hang out, watch this movie. And the only problem is that, the theater kind of wants their theater back after you're done. So they don't allow a whole bunch of time for a discussion, but you could get like 15 minutes out of it or something.
Yeah.
So you could have a speaker, come in and share or something.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then one of the things that I was thinking about, and I have been thinking about for a long time, is really how do we create a kind of space. And it's awesome. Back to the Grind is so welcoming, and like they don't make a big deal out of folks spending time there and meeting up there and stuff like that. But it's I think people having I think we need a home base of some sort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, what does that look like? How soon is that a possibility? Even if it's not like a big enough for, a super whole group of a membership meeting, but at least it's some sort of like, I don't know, storefront or some sort of something that folks can start to congregate. I guess that would be the word.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
I just know that that's part of what they did in Colorado for like this kind of like a renaissance of like activism and stuff that happened, and it really pushed the political scene totally leftward in Colorado over this last decade.
Wow.
But it started with, I don't know if you know like the band Flowbots.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, so yeah, so then Flowbots, they're from Denver, and they were part of this like sort of underground like social justice movement, and they had this space where they would like kind of like warehouse looking kind of space where they would have meetups of so voter registration and forums and political discussions and stuff, and of course them as a band, they would like hang out longer and then play, and then it was just sort of this whole vibe of like community building. Yeah, and it is just amazing. And again, this is where a lot of the leftward, like really radical leftward movement that was happening in Colorado started from, it emanated from. So if you look up the video on YouTube, you can look up Flowbots. There's a couple of songs. They had one like top 40 song, I think, was Handlebars. But their music is mostly much more revolutionary, like politically motivated stuff. They have a song called Ann Braden that's about a civil rights activist who and so they tell her story through the song, and then with some like outtakes of quotes of her. And then and then Stand Up and Rise. Again, I think those are, maybe they hit the top 100 or something, but a more revolutionary sort of frame. It's cool.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm looking them up on Wikipedia right now.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I know, like, so we used to have Blood Orange, right, in Riverside.
Right.
I know that that's sort of, like the involvement in that sort of dwindled.
Right.
And there's a place like that in I'm trying to remember what city it is. Not Whittier, but like out that direction, Puente Hills or one of those. There's a place called Bridgetown.
Okay.
And it's like an anarchist sort of, bookshop, kind of info shop place, kind of like what Blood Orange was. And I mean, there are places like that, like, far away, but it would be cool, like you said, if we just had some kind of space, like a permanent space like that here to have,
right.
Ongoing events. There was a place in Temecula called The Dial, which is like really random because Temecula is so conservative, but
right.
It was a freaking cool place where, I mean, they had like, I don't know if you're familiar with literally the genre of music called noise.
Okay.
I have a lot of friends that are into it, and it's sort of like the newest, like just most abstract, random, noisy thing you could do is just have plug your microphone into a bunch of guitar pedals and just make really crazy noises.
Well, all right. I'm a wordsmith, so I kind of like I gravitate towards the lyrics, not so much the noise, but all right.
I know, it's weird to me too. Like even like I used to be really into the hardcore scene and screaming and stuff when that was like kind of a new thing in town, but
okay.
Even that, at least, like there was words. So
right. That's awesome.
It's weird, but it's like a thing where just the fact that there's like spaces that have something like that, but
right.
But even the places that are doing it, even like the like anarchist info shops, like all they really have is just like a little library with zines and pamphlets and stuff, but no one's really like getting up and talking and
right.
and using it like as a forum each time there's a concert or something. And they
right.
have like self-defense classes, like really cool things like that. But yeah, like really kind of connecting it And I mean, I'm sure it's probably just because they can't get enough people to full-time volunteer.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, it'd be so cool to just have something like open like that all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the other things I was talking to Matt about was while we were in LA, we were able to meet up with the DSA folks from LA.
Oh, nice.
And they were really excited to talk about like, how can we, collaborate together? And we talked about like how the warehouses in the IE are directly connected to the fact that the stuff's coming in through the Port of Los Angeles, but what we can do like as different chapters to connect on that, or somehow I don't know, find some kind of common interest beyond that, other than I guess just trying to bring warehouse workers like, a sense of class consciousness or something. But
right.
That's kind of where, as far as that went. But at the same time, LA's membership is just insane. We have like just an insane amount of members, but we're already organizing something that they hadn't even thought of doing, and that's doing like the Socialist night school.
Right. Yeah. No, that's kind of badass, dude.
It is super badass.
It is. It totally is. Because we had talked about it a few years ago with All of Us or None. They were sort of talking about what they called freedom schools, because that's sort of what was going on with during the civil rights movement, where you teach folks not only the discussion, the issues discussion or the historical context, but you also teach them and prep folks for organizing. So you teach them like what a direct action would look like, and how you would role play, and how you would prep yourself so that you're ready for engagement nonviolently. And but without it, then where everybody's scrambling and it's all weird.
Yeah.
But it never happened, right? So
it never happened. Yeah, this is. I mean, a lot of it is just. Matt is just one of those guys that just gets things done.
That's awesome.
The occasion, and he's like, I'll do the first one. Let's do it. And so he's going to do the first one April 16th, and talking about how Medicare is a socialist issue.
Right.
And, but also this weekend, we're having the regional organizer come out from DSA. And he's going to teach us all how to organize, like how better to canvas, how to door-to-door canvas, how to, push, like in the electoral system and push your congressman and stuff. So, I mean, most of us don't have any real experience with that.
Right.
Once we've been a part of other movements. And so that's happening this weekend. I don't know if you want to promote that on the Progressive Alliance, because it's open to anybody who wants to come and learn.
Oh my gosh, totally. Yeah, no, that sounds great. I will. We could totally do that. So then I'm thinking, so I'm going to be out of town because we're going to the Progressive Alliance. There's a inaugural convention for the statewide California Progressive Alliance. And yeah, so then it's up in San Luis Obispo, and it's a whole, so kind of based off of what they did in Richmond, which they had this Progressive Alliance of like Green Party folks, some like kind of progressive Dems, and then and definitely some socialists in this conversation. And they used electoral politics and ended up getting elected a mayor, Gail McLaughlin, who was a Green Party member, and they got her on the Richmond City Council first, and then she became mayor. And then they like did some really badass things, like suing Chevron to make them pay their fair share in the in taxes and stuff, because before they were just getting all these tax breaks and stuff, and the community was suffering. And so they started this now statewide coalition to show folks kind of like how they did that and how we can work together to, again, going along those electoral politics sort of thing, and fighting for some of these policies. So that should be exciting.
That is exciting.
But, yeah. So our goal is to a handful of us are going to go up there, bring back the information and share it with folks. And then, but our model of the Progressive Alliance wasn't necessarily rooted in just electoral stuff. And so we got to figure out, how we transition, because some folks don't want to, they just don't want to get into, organizing under electoral stuff. But we still need their voices, or we still need their bodies when we need them, right? When we need a call to action, that sort of stuff. So how do we do that? So we'll figure that out, but definitely I'll put the word out for what you guys are doing. For us, I mean, I consider myself part of it, right? But you guys are taking the lead. But I'll put the word out, and hopefully we get some new folks to hook up and see what's going on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, cool. So I don't want to keep it too longer, but thanks so much for jumping on and having this conversation with me. It was a little bit more intimate call, but I think that's cool too. And I'll start it, but I won't be able to finish the whole video, I think, but on the recording. But I did want to, let me see, to at least give you a hint of what that Ann Braden song sounds like. And hopefully I can share it. Hopefully I can share it, because yesterday it wouldn't let me share. Can you hear anything?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, no, actually, no, the music's not coming through.
Okay. So there usually is a way. Oh, but it might be just on the computer. So I'll send you the link.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll send you the link and just take a listen. But it's a really great story. Ann Braden by the Flowbots.
Sweet.
All right, cool. So then with that, we will chill out. And then actually in one of the videos, you'll be able to see sort of the, I'll send you the live version, because then you'll see the spot place in one of the spots in Denver that they played at.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Which was kind of cool. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want me to send you that through Facebook?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much again, Jonny, for jumping on and sharing and having this great conversation.
Thank you.
All right. So we will chat soon, and I'll definitely look for that stuff to share on the calendar for folks.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, hon. Well, you have a good night.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.